They say revenge doesn't build houses, but in my case, it rebuilt a whole valley. That Monday morning, I was sipping my coffee over fresh survey maps that proved half of Millbrook Valley was mine by law, when the rumble of diesel engines shattered my peace. Through the window, I saw it. A Thornwick construction crew rolling in like a private army. A backhoe the size of my nightmares crawled down the access road, chewing up gravel that had been fine since the Roosevelt administration. Dean Thornwick stood there, smug under his hard hat, shouting, "Road maintenance, Holloway! Just fixing safety issues!" I hit record on my phone, my blood calm but boiling inside. Funny timing, a day after I filed ownership papers. Coincidence? Not a chance. As they tore into my road, the smell of diesel, dust, and arrogance filled the air. That's when I realized this wasn't business anymore. This was war. 2 hours later, my septic system exploded, literally. The plumber, one of the few brave enough to work for me, found rags stuffed down the cleanout. Sabotage, pure and simple. "This wasn't an accident," he muttered. "Someone wanted to make your life hell." $4,000 and a mountain of sewage later, the message was clear. They weren't trying to scare me off. They were trying to break me. But here's the thing about people like the Thornwicks. They underestimate quiet men with long memories. That afternoon, the harassment parade began. Environmental inspectors, fire marshals, health department officials, even an agriculture officer who thought I was secretly running a pig farm. Each one arrived with a clipboard and an anonymous complaint. Each one left empty-handed, disappointed there wasn't a single violation. By sunset, I'd counted six agencies in one day. I called Eleanor, my lawyer and now unofficial war general. "They're carpet-bombing you with bureaucracy," she said. "They want you exhausted, broken, begging." I laughed. Wrong man for that plan. That night, I grilled a burger and tried to feel normal. But the woods behind my cabin didn't agree. Movement, 3 figures in dark clothes creeping through my trees. Security cameras don't lie. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped into the dark. "Evening, folks," I called out. "Beautiful night for felony trespassing, isn't it?" They panicked, crashing through the underbrush like amateurs. When I checked the spot, they'd left a stash. Spray paint cans, sugar for my gas tank, and a camera worth more than my truck. But the real gift? A wallet. Inside, driver's license, credit cards, and a country club membership. Name, Bradley Thornwick, amateur hour. By morning, Chief Gonzalez had the evidence bagged and tagged. She smiled like a shark smelling blood. This just got federal. And oh, it did. Tuesday brought the bribe. Dean Thornwick arrived at my door dressed like a man about to sell his soul. Or buy mine. He opened a leather briefcase full of $200,000 cash. "Marcus, let's be reasonable men. Take this. Walk away. Start fresh. No one needs to get hurt. 200 grand. Enough to buy peace. Enough to disappear. For 10 seconds. I almost wanted to. Then I remembered the 8 families they'd driven out before me. "Dean," I said quietly, "if this property's only worth 47 grand, why are you offering me 200 to walk away?" His face drained of color. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. "My family has connections. We can make your life very complicated." I smiled, holding up my phone, the recording light blinking red. Funny thing about threats, they sound a lot less scary when you're saying them on record. When he stormed out, I knew something big had snapped. Phase 2 of my plan, legal warfare, was in motion, but they weren't done. Wednesday morning, I opened my door to death. 3 dead rabbits, a possum, and what looked like someone's pet cat, all arranged like some kind of ritual warning. The smell hit before the sight did. Rot, fear, and gasoline. For a moment, I froze. Then anger settled in. Tire tracks ran through my garden, clear as fingerprints. BMW tread marks. Bradley's car, again. When Chief Gonzalez arrived, She didn't say much. Just took photos, measured prints, and muttered, "They've just turned this into a felony harassment case. FBI's gonna love this." And they did. By nightfall, a federal field office had eyes on Millbrook Valley. Small-town corruption with civil rights violations? That's the FBI's favorite meal. But the Thornwicks didn't know they were already cooked. That afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was my ex-wife, Jennifer, someone I hadn't heard from since the divorce. Her voice trembled. "Marcus, a woman named Delilah called me. Said you're under investigation, that you're unstable. She even called my office." I felt my stomach drop. They'd crossed state lines. Interstate stalking, federal crime territory. "Jennifer, write down everything, time, number, what she said, and call the Phoenix police." "What the hell did you get yourself into, Marcus?" I sighed. Apparently restoring a cabin is a capital offense in Millbrook Valley. After that call, I sat in silence. The cabin walls, once my sanctuary, now felt like targets. But that night, everything changed. While grilling dinner, I caught a new smell, one that didn't belong. Gasoline. Security feed. A figure in dark clothes creeping behind my workshop, gas can in hand. My pulse exploded. I dialed 911, then stepped out onto the porch, flashlight in one hand, phone in the other. "I see you!" I shouted. "Fire department's already on the way." The figure bolted, dropping the can, but not before the cameras caught his face. Even under that cap, I knew that walk. Bradley Thornwick. Within minutes, the fire trucks arrived. Then Chief Gonzalez, then State Police. As they combed through evidence, Detective Sarah Mills looked up from my security footage. "Clear intent, clear ID, clear federal jurisdiction. You've just won yourself a case, Mr. Holloway," I asked quietly. "How many charges are we talking?" She smiled. "Conspiracy, stalking, harassment, attempted arson, civil rights violations." I looked at the flickering blue lights reflecting off my cabin windows and exhaled. The sound wasn't fear, it was relief. Because this time, David had lawyers, evidence, and mineral rights worth more than Goliath's entire kingdom. That night, I watched the news on my phone, footage of Bradley Thornwick's arrest at his mother's mansion. Handcuffed, head down, Delilah screaming at officers about family connections as cameras rolled. The anchor's voice carried like poetry. What began as a property dispute has now erupted into a federal corruption and arson investigation. My phone buzzed. A message from Eleanor. "Federal restraining order granted. No Thornwick within 500 yards of your property." I raised my beer to the night sky, the air tasting like victory and smoke. Tomorrow, I thought, would bring the reckoning. When the sun rose over Millbrook Valley the next morning, it didn't feel like dawn. It felt like Judgment Day. By noon, word had spread. An emergency town hall meeting. Every resident, reporter, and politician within 50 miles was coming. The Thornwick's name had gone from old money royalty to headline corruption. That evening, the community center overflowed. 300 people packed into a hall meant for half that. The air buzzed with anger, curiosity, and the metallic scent of television lights. Deputies guarded the doors. I could feel the weight of history pressing on my shoulders, and for the first time, it felt light. Delilah Thornwick sat in the front row, her perfect hair hiding the cracks beneath. The woman who once ruled this valley looked smaller than the chair holding her. Beside her, two high-priced lawyers whispered frantic strategy that already smelled like defeat. County Commissioner Williams tapped the mic, voice trembling. "We're here to address recent developments concerning property disputes and criminal allegations." Before he could finish, Delilah shot to her feet. "This is a travesty. My family has built this community for generations. We're being persecuted by a drifter who bought stolen land." The crowd murmured like a hive of angry bees. Cameras turned. I stood from the back row and started walking forward, Eleanor beside me, both of us carrying briefcases that could end dynasties. Stolen land? I said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut glass. That's an interesting word choice. A lawyer jumped up. This meeting isn't for litigation. But the judge presiding tonight, Hon Patricia Harrison, adjusted her glasses and said, "Given the federal investigation, I think we should hear Mr. Holloway." Eleanor opened her briefcase with a satisfying click. The room fell silent. Out came a weathered parchment sealed in wax. She lifted it like it was the Declaration of Independence. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the original 1873 territorial land grant for 50 acres in Millbrook Valley, issued to Ezekiel Holloway, great-great-grandfather of Marcus Holloway." Camera shutters erupted. Dr. Moore from the State Historical Society stepped up, voice steady. "We verified the document's age, ink composition, and seal. It's authentic." Delilah's whisper carried through the hush. "That's impossible." Eleanor smiled the way a chess player smiles after checkmate. "According to this grant, the Thornwick family has been illegally occupying Holloway land for over a century. Every house you sold, every tax collected, all of it sits on stolen ground." Chaos exploded. Reporters shouted questions. Residents gasped. Delilah's lawyers flipped papers in panic. "Furthermore," Eleanor continued above the noise, "geological surveys confirm valuable natural gas and rare earth deposits beneath this property." "Estimated market value tens of millions," Delilah snapped. "Fraud! He's a con man, a liar. My family built this valley." I stepped closer, lowering my voice until everyone leaned in to hear. "Your family built it on theft. And when I proved it, you tried to destroy me. Through bribes, harassment, and arson." Chief Gonzalez walked forward holding a thick evidence folder. "Mrs. Thornwick, the FBI has confirmed multiple counts of conspiracy, intimidation, and attempted arson. Your son's fingerprints were found on the gas can. There's a warrant for your husband's arrest on corruption charges." The judge's gavel slammed like thunder. "Order! Mrs. Thornwick, you and your counsel will remain seated. Mr. Holloway's ownership is affirmed. Effective immediately, the Thornwick family is prohibited from approaching his property." Delilah collapsed into her chair, face pale, eyes glassy. For the first time, she had nothing left to threaten. The crowd erupted. Cheers, applause, tears. Reporters swarmed. Somewhere in the back, I saw Martha Caldwell wipe her eyes. The valley had been suffocating under silence for generations. Now it finally exhaled. Outside, the night cracked open with camera flashes and TV lights. Gonzalez patted my shoulder. "You didn't just win a case, Marcus. You freed a town." 6 months later, the Thornwick estate had been auctioned, their company dissolved to pay restitution. Dean served 2 years for corruption. Bradley got probation and, poetic justice, 500 hours of community service restoring historic properties, under Chief Gonzalez's watch. And Delilah? Federal civil rights charges. Country clubs don't take those calls anymore. On the site where their luxury development once stood, laughter now filled the air. The first annual Millbrook Valley Heritage Festival spread across the meadow like a second sunrise. Booths, music, the smell of barbecue and honeysuckle, and somewhere the echo of history finally at peace. Eleanor joined me on the cabin porch, handing me a cold beer. "Not bad for a guy who just wanted to fix a sagging floor," I smiled. "Not bad for a lawyer who turned into family." She laughed, clinking bottles. Chief Gonzalez was now county sheriff. Martha organized the festival with unstoppable energy, and Bob Kettering flipped ribs at his grill like he was feeding redemption itself. The cabin looked almost the same as the day I found it, except now it glowed. The mineral rights lease had turned out to be worth $12 million. Every beam was restored, every wall whispered history. Down in the meadow, kids chased fireflies where fear once lived. And for the first time, Millbrook Valley wasn't owned by a dynasty. It belonged to the people. You know the best part? I told Eleanor, watching families explore the heritage center we'd built in the old barn. Those kids are learning real history, the kind that teaches you to build and to fight for what's yours. Scholarships from the Heritage Fund were already sending local students to study trades, history and law, so the next generation would know how to create and how to protect. Near the garden, Sarah Chen, the journalist who broke the story, interviewed visitors for her upcoming book. She'd moved to Millbrook after the case, saying she wanted to live in a place that earned its happy endings. Bob called from his barbecue station, waving a spatula. "Marcus, get down here and tell them how you found that grant." I walked into the crowd, boots creaking on the wooden steps, faces turned, eager for the story they'd all lived pieces of. "Well," I began, smiling, "sometimes when you're just trying to fix a sagging floor, you end up uncovering 150 years of buried truth, laughter, applause, phones recording. But what I saw in their eyes wasn't entertainment. It was hope. Because my fight had stopped being just mine the moment the first neighbor said, 'Enough.'" As dusk settled, I sat on the porch beside Sarah. Fireflies flickered like slow-motion sparks above the meadow. "Any regrets?" she asked softly. I thought about the nights of fear, the lawsuits, the threats, and the faces now smiling below. "Not one," I said. "Fighting for what's right is the only way to sleep at night." She squeezed my hand. Silence stretched, comfortable and earned. Then I looked into the camera I'd set on the porch rail, the one streaming my story to whoever needed courage tonight. "If you've ever been pushed around by people who think money makes them untouchable," I said, voice steady, "remember, they only win when good people stay quiet." I leaned closer, letting the glow of the fireflies fill the frame. "So tell your story. Drop it in the comments, because silence protects the powerful, but truth makes them fall." A slow smile. "And hey, if you want more real stories of ordinary folks who refuse to back down, hit subscribe. The next one might just be yours." The screen would fade to black right there, with the sound of crickets, distant laughter, and a valley finally free.